Okay, so I'm at the Sydney learner session. Just going to do a head check. Got to get the front wheel in the yellow box. The trick is to this bit though is you're not actually looking at the yellow box. If they catch you looking at the yellow box, they tell you off, because in a real world situation you need to plant the front wheel where you want it to be without having to look at the ground. Looking at the ground is obviously an unsafe thing to do in the real world. You want to be always looking ahead, and if they catch you looking at the ground, then they will let you know about it. And that's the good thing about coming to these courses. You might not necessarily know you're doing it, but they'll be watching you. And you've got to remember, whenever you do an activity here, you need to always perform a head check, because they'll tell you off for that as well. Even though this is a practice session, they will treat it as if it's the real thing. Head check. Now you've got to look up. You're not even allowed to look at the cones here. I'm going to try not looking down. Do a quick head check on my way out. Watch out for the swerver. Have a little cheeky look behind, see if I knocked any over. No. Okay, emergency stop. Always practice the emergency stop with a full tank and on a dry day. A little tip on the emergency stop is, if you use a full tank on practice days and then go to the actual M.O.S.T test with a half a tank or a quarter tank, your bike's going to be much lighter and stop much quicker. Obviously as well, you want to try and book your test on a dry day, you get more grip. Back to the swerve, head check. I'll try and get into second in over 20 kilometers here, because they don't want you to go too slow when doing that. I think they ask you to speed up when doing the swerve. If you hit a tennis ball, it's an instant fail on the M.O.S.T test, or so I've been told. And if you fail the emergency stop, it's an automatic fail as well. One or the other, or both, you'll fail. The hardest part for me, here we go, there's a little left turn here. You're not allowed to hit the lines, but you're not allowed to look at the lines either. So as I was saying, try and book your M.O.S.T test on a dry day, because with the emergency stop, even though it takes longer to brake on wet ground, they still ask that you go 20 kilometers an hour and stop in the same distance, stopping distance. So on a dry day you're going to have more advantage, and you know, with a quarter tank of petrol your bike's going to be lighter. You practice this with a full tank, you're gonna just be better at it when the bike's lighter. So that's why I say practice with a full tank. Go to the test on a half or quarter tank. Little tip there, bit naughty. Head check. Don't look at the cones. Don't look at the cones. I'm looking at that 60 sign over there in the background, and that's when you know you're doing the right thing. So this isn't where they actually hold the tests in for your M.O.S.T tests. This is just a bit of ground that the Sydney learner community is borrowed on weekends every Saturday. Starts at 1. Head check. Always be careful when doing the swerve, because straight after that they got the cones. And that's why it's important to always look up and not at the ground, because if you're looking at the tennis balls and someone just comes darting out of the cones on this particular layout, then you're going to have an accident. I think it's really good that the guys here at the Sydney learner sessions take the time out to teach the learners how to pass the course safely. I don't think they get paid for it. They do it to help you out and just to keep you safe. They're looking out for your back. And that helps build a really good community. That's really good of them. Well, I basically support what these guys are doing. Sydney, the metro area, is a very dangerous place to ride, especially if you're a learner. So you should definitely come to these courses. I've got a bit of experience here. I'm using their knowledge to pass the test, but I've already got 2 to 3 years experience back in England. I just always let my learner plates expire because I was young and stupid and had no money at the time when renewal was due. There you go, there's one. Got to definitely do the head checks around here because everyone's a learner and not everyone's confident. Some people make some nervous moves and that sometimes brings out mistakes. Very difficult thing about this is going 20 kilometers an hour and doing an emergency stop. For me, I always had to go fast enough so that it would actually feel like an emergency. I also tell you off for braking too early and deaccelerating too early. The idea is if you're looking out into the distance, as soon as those cones disappear from your sight, that's the time when you can let off the throttle and start to brake. You're also required to do a downshift, which means when you start the emergency braking test, you need to go up a gear. So between the starting point and the cones, you need to go up a gear. And then when the cones come out of sight, you need to go down a gear. So this yellow box here is you're meant to stop your front wheel into the yellow box. Easy, you might say. Yes, it is. It is very easy. But then when you do it for the first time without looking at the box, it all of a sudden gets a little bit harder. So again, I just want to get back to the emergency stop. I've got ABS, so I guess I'm cheating. You're not allowed to let any of the wheels skid when you do the emergency braking test. So if they catch you skidding out a wheel, I think points get deducted for that as well. So don't look at the cones, 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 don't look at the cones. Check the cones, see if I look one over. No! Okay, so I need to get into second. I need to get about 25 kilometers an hour. I need to carry on looking forward, and as soon as those yellow cones disappear out of sight, that's when I can deaccelerate and brake. These 3 lines here are your stopping distances. That's for 20, that's for 25, and that's for 30. So if you go a little bit faster than 20 kilometers, then, and you know, if you're going faster than 20 kilometers an hour and you go past the 20 kilometers an hour stopping line, they will allow you to do up to 25 kilometers an hour and stop at the 25 kilometers an hour stopping distance line. Same again for 30. However, if you're going 60 kilometers an hour, you do have to still stop within the 30 kilometers an hour stopping distance line laid out to you. There's no extra points for going faster. So the maximum speed you want to be doing is 30. Just make sure you land before that 30 kilometers an hour line. You'll be safe. Even if you're not on your L plates anymore and coming to this site isn't really necessary for you, you can still support them by turning up and giving the learners tips on the course. And so I urge you to speak with the people that organise it to see if you can help out and support them, because what they're doing is a good thing. But also, you don't even have to help them. You can support them by coming here and just saying hello, make some new friends, and then go for the group ride that they organise. One of the other things about the emergency stop is get to know what 25 kilometers feels like. They say your speedo on motorcycles, I'm just going to stop in the shade here. They say speedos on a motorbike usually show more than what you're actually doing. So if you're going 25 kilometers an hour on the speedo, you're probably realistically, as the crow flies or as the GPS measures, 20 kilometers an hour. So what you want to do is you want to use this straight down here. So if I get back on the bike, there's a load of space beyond the course where you can get a feel of what 20 kilometers feels like, 25 kilometers feels like, because if they catch you going too slow, then you'll be asked to do it again. You cannot pass if you go too slow when doing the emergency stop. But one of the worst things you can do when doing the emergency stop is get caught out looking at the speedo to make sure you're going fast enough. If you look down at your speedo in during the test and in a real world environment, you got your eyes off the road, and that's going to mean trouble, especially in an emergency. So right around this area here, every bike's got a note. So I'm not looking now, I think I'm going about 25 now. There you go, I am. So get used to the sound of the bike at 25 kilometers an hour in second gear. Use this space to know what it feels like. What I will say is on a hot day, you're not really going fast. The sun does start to make it a bit challenging. So wear the right gear if you're coming out on a hot day. U-turn here. Try and look at that 60 post over there when doing the U-turn. They're looking for your head and your eye level on the U-turn. It's very difficult, I found, when first doing the U-turn for the first time, not to look at the U-turn on the ground. You just want to make sure that you're doing it. These swerve tennis balls seem to be out of whack. Try and do both sides when doing the swerve test. Do the tennis balls on the left and the tennis balls on the right. It's always good to practice. I believe on the actual M.O.S.T test you can choose whether you're going to swerve left or right, so you can choose your preferred side. Yeah, it's always good to practice both sides on the swerve, not just for the purposes of the M.O.S.T test, but for the purposes of knowing that you can do it. You get to test that in a safe environment. When you come here, definitely bring a bottle of water on a hot day. There's no shops nearby, and don't come on an empty stomach, because you want to really make a day out of this. If you're practicing, you don't want to be thinking about food or water. It's going to kind of ruin the whole point of it. It's just you and the bike when you get here. Turn off your phone, just get stuck in, make sure when you pull away you've learned something. So a little bit about me. I'm quite an experienced learner. This is actually my third L plate, which I obtained in Australia. Before that, been riding for 3 years back in England. For one of those years I might have been a little bit naughty, not sure, I can't remember. But for 2 of those years I had an L plate. And for the first year I had the L plate, I let it expire. I was young, silly, had no money. And then on the second L plate I acquired, when it was just about to expire and I needed to go on to the next stage, I moved to Australia. So didn't do that one either. So that's 2 L plates down the pan. When I moved to Australia, I was working in the middle of the city for, you know, 2-3 years, and I was using bus, train, light rail, so absolutely no need to get a motorbike. But then my boss moved the office into a place which was hard to commute to, so I'm back on the bike, and glad to be back on the bike, to be honest. My girlfriend's dad died in a motorbike accident. One of my uncles died in a motorbike accident, but yeah, I do love bikes, and it was very hard to convince the missus that I was going to go and get back on one to fix my new commuting problem. But you know, I try and be very safe, wear all the high vis during rush hour, but you know, that's another story. So yeah, that's when I got my 3rd license plate, when I came to Australia and needed to get back on the bike. So I'm a pretty experienced learner rider, but coming to a place like this, it's a good reminder of all the basics you tend to forget. And yeah, you know, coming to a place like this is worth it, even if you're not a learner anymore, just to remind yourself of some of the small things that you just will eventually iron out of your routines when you're tackling the roads. When you get here for the first time and you don't know the course very well, look for Chris. He's usually the one to greet you and ask if anyone's done the course before. He will show you the course layout and where the beginning of each obstacle is. And so if you've never been here before, be sure to ask for Chris. He'll walk you around. Here we can see Chris, the alpha male, guiding the herd through the wilderness. The guy with the sunglasses and the beige jeans. That's the guy you want to hook up with. You can see he's showing all the people the layout of the course and what to do at each obstacle. Is the guy pointing. Make sure you see that guy. At the beginning of all the obstacles are these little yellow T marks. When you first get here, you'll wonder where they are. They are there. It's just a matter of getting used to where they are. Okay, well, I hope that was informative for you. This is Sydney Learner Sessions, and I'll link in the bottom of the video, in the description, the forums of where you can find out more and join these sessions. Like I said, I haven't been able to find another session like it for free. It's completely free in the Sydney area, where someone goes to all the trouble of laying out the cones and giving you tips. So support their cause. At the end of it, they tend to organise a bike ride, where once you've done all your practice, they will then go for a group ride to an interesting location.